I'm going to call the meeting to order, and I'm going to ask our town manager to please read the disclaimer.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As a reminder to everybody, this meeting is being recorded, so that we can post it on the website and for access after the meeting is over. If I am in the process of renaming folks, but if you do pop up and you do not have your name, I will call on you and ask you to identify yourself. For folks that have comments or questions, I'm going to ask that you please use the raise hand function, and I will send you a message to acknowledge that I see that your hand is raised, and we will call on you when the time is right. And that is
Thank
it.
you. Thank you. And with that segue, I will now open the public comment period. As the town manager said, if anyone has a comment or question, any town resident or guest, please raise your hand. So I guess
Nothing so far. Yep.
nobody raised your hand. Okay. So we will move forward to approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? I saw Zoe Kaiser first. Is there discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? The next item is consideration of the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? I saw Zoe Kaiser first. Is there discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Thank you. We will now move to the presentation of the FY 2020 audit findings by our distinguished auditors. And I will turn it over to the town manager to introduce it. And you're muted, Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you. We are joined this evening by Michael Sampson and Derek Schrader, both from Zelenkovsky Axelrod, which has served as the town's auditors for the past 3 years. Michael and Derek, I'll let you introduce yourselves and give your official titles. But I think Michael will present the general findings of the audit, after which our audit committee, which prior to this meeting met and reviewed the audit report with the auditors and our council liaisons, will give their report and recommendations for council action.
All right. Thank you, Matt. My name is Mike Sampson. I'm the partner with Zelenkovsky Axelrod. I'm also here with Derek Schrader. He is the manager on the engagement. And first of all, I just want to thank Matt and the audit committee for their providing us all the information and time to complete the audit this year. And so the first thing I did want to go over was our opinion on the financial statements. And we did issue an unmodified or clean opinion on the town's financial statements for the year ended June 30th, 2020. The town did adopt one new GASB this year, GASB 95. That was postponement of the effective dates of certain authoritative guidance. Generally, this was GASB's response to the pandemic, basically provided relief to local governments and effectively delayed the implementation of new statements for 1 year. And the town took advantage of this of that GASB. So as far as some brief financial highlights of the town, your statement of net position, this is on the full accrual. So this is a picture of a snapshot as of June 30th, 2020. The town had net position, which is what's left over of your assets minus your liabilities. You had unrestricted net position of approximately 2.6 million for the year ended June 30th, 2020. And on the balance sheet, the other item I would like to point out was there is a $250,000 due to the state. This is for Maryland First Win case. The town is required to basically refund those monies over 5 years going forward. As far as your statement of activities, this is what happened during the year. That your net position increased by $522,000. The reason for the increase was primarily driven by your capital assets, basically your town hall renovations. Because basically your capital assets exceeded your depreciation by $252,000. Also, your state income tax collections were $105,000 higher for the year. So those are the two things that drove it. I shouldn't say collections, I should say amount that eventually the town will receive. As far as the general fund, this is at the fund level, so it's only really doesn't have your capital assets or liabilities. You had an unassigned fund balance of 2.4 million. Those are funds which you can use at the town's discretion. And for the year ended, as far as on your income statement side, you had an increase in your fund balance of $84,000 approximately. So your revenues exceeded your expenses by $84,000 for the year ended June 30th, 2020. There was a couple notes too, if you do have time. I always like to point that out, like note 6 in your financial statements. That is basically the long-term liabilities of the town. There's information, I will not go over it here, but it's something always good to look at. It lists out your payments for your principal and interest going forward over the next 5 years and thereafter. And I did want to point out too, we had no disagreements with management over any accounting principles or accounting matters. And management is going to post all proposed journal entries. And that's all I had at the time, unless there's any questions.
Thank you very much, sir. Would our council liaisons to the audit committee wish to add anything? To the council liaisons wish to add anything to that excellent report?
Obviously,
Councilor Barr, thank you.
thank you. It's clearly very good news. I will point out that a lot of our unreserved fund balance, 2.4 million figure, is our rainy day fund, which is incorporated into that. And so we do have some funds beyond the rainy day fund that are unreserved, but it's still, we've got to realize that reason why we have such a healthy balance at the moment is largely that rainy day fund.
Okay, thank you. And before we take questions from the council, I see that our distinguished audit committee chair is present. Sir, thank you for being here. And would you like to comment?
Well, we had a number of questions which were well answered during our meeting, and we then unanimously agreed to approve the audit committee report. There may be a time when I formally make that statement, but it went very, very well.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. So, Council President Shaw, did you want to add anything or ask a question?
One thing I'd like to add is that I feel like we each year for the last few years have been in an improved position with our audit. And I want to thank Matt for his hard work in trying to straighten out our finances so that we are close to where we should be. I think the town should be very comfortable with that. And the second thing is I do have some commitment from, I'm not sure whether it's Matt or from the audit firm, to have the level of detail I think we should have included, if not as part of the filed audit, something that can be given with the audit to residents which have, I think, a level of detail which is helpful to them in seeing how we spend the money, rather than at such a high level that they really don't know what we've spent the money on.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Zeugenhauser, do you have any questions? No, you're muted. No questions?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. Council Member Peel.
No questions from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Member Circa, do you have any questions?
Just
comments.
one question for clarification. I believe I heard that revenues exceeded expenditures by something like $84,000 in the last year. Was that before or after our town's contributions to the rainy day fund?
That would have been after. So that's at the end of the
Okay,
year.
that's what I thought. Thank you very much.
So thank you. So now we will go to the next item, which is the public hearing on the, to approve the audit committee's recommendation for approval of the FY 2020 audit. So Chair Edson, if you would like to make your formal recommendation.
The audit committee recommends approval of the budget report as submitted unanimously.
Okay, thank you. Council President Shaw, do you have any questions of the committee? Thank you. Councilmember Zuighauser. Councilmember Peel.
No questions.
Councilmember Barr. Councilmember Circo. I went out of order.
No
Councilmember
problem.
Circo.
No questions.
Councilmember Barr. Thank you. Mr. Town Manager, has any resident or guest raised their hand?
No, no.
Okay, thank you. With that, council, are you prepared to make a motion?
I move that we accept the audit report.
I think that maybe Councilmember Barr was making it, but anyway.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
So, but I saw Councilmember Peel second it, and so that's fine. Remember to unmute yourself when it's time. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you very much. And I want to thank the committee, the liaisons, and of course, our auditors for the great job you all did this year. And let's look forward to a great year upcoming. So thanks a lot, and we'll see you soon. The next item is hearing motion to approve a 3-month extension to existing building permit at 5508 Uppingham Street as requested by Megan Spilassi. Mr. Town
Might I
Manager.
point out that we're more than half an hour ahead of the agenda item?
Okay, why don't we go to the, thank you, Madam President. Why don't we go to the building administrator's report? Mr. Lohmeyer, thank you for being here.
It says you're unmuted, Doug, but we're not hearing anything if you are speaking.
Are you there? Doug, can you hear us now?
Doug, maybe if you try to call back in, and Mr. Mayor, if I may make a recommendation, maybe we can have Tolbert offer his report while we're getting Doug figured out.
Except we're way ahead of schedule. And Madam President, do you feel there will be residents that wish to comment on those items?
The public trees,
Yeah.
these are public trees. One of the residents is you. What do
Yeah.
you think?
I don't have a comment. I go along with the record. No, but should we go? Or do you want to go to the,
Manager's report or
or do you want to
something?
go to the manager's report, Madam President?
Might make sense to go to the manager's report.
Okay, Mr. Town Manager, please begin your report, and we will, at 7:30, we will return to item 4.
Okay. Just a quick follow-up on the audit as Council President Shaw alluded to. I will include, I worked with the auditors to make sure that our QuickBooks statements are 100% lined up with where our audit ended, so that the more general end of the year balance sheet that they present in the audit is lined up with our more detailed budget report. So what I will do is I will include an insert that has that final report in the audit as sort of a supplemental insert for the record.
For those of you that weren't part of the earlier discussion, the reason I've asked for this is, number one, our previous auditors always used to include it. And number two, we've had a hard time getting really good numbers for a few years, dating before Matt. And so the audit represented numbers that we could really count on as being our year-end numbers for our actual budget and our actual both revenues and spending. So it's a very useful document to have.
Yes, thank you. Couple other budget related things. The budget committee, they had talked about doing quarterly meetings, which would be at this meeting, but in December, we got our November income tax statements, which are really the first large income tax statement that we get for the year. That gives us a good idea of where we'll be at year's end. And it was kind of out of whack, probably in large part due to the extension of tax filings. And so they have elected to wait until March, when we have a clearer understanding of our budget then, and we'll plan to do another presentation to the council at that time. In addition, I'm working with them to set up another meeting with the state comptroller's office to get an update on COVID and the state's fiscal situation as it might pertain to the town of Somerset. And then finally, just a quick update on COVID reimbursements. I think last month I had told you that I completed an application for grant reimbursement for funds related to COVID-19. And I actually got an email this past month that said that they were extending the deadline for accepting things. And so I started to look back on our records and put in an application for a couple of other things. So hopefully we should be getting some grant money back to help support some of the costs. I figured I would just throw as much as I could against the wall. There were a lot of things that really were due to COVID, everything from our election to the Member Splash website and facilitating online reservations and ensuring that we were following social distancing guidelines. So I'm optimistic that we should get some reimbursement money there. Moving along, I hope everybody had received notice about final vacuuming from Ray Brothers. I actually got another message from Walter that said that they let me just pull it up so I can read it verbatim to you. He said that given that we had snow last week, they did their final leaf vacuuming visit on Wednesday, December 30th. Let's see, and there are some old piles of leaves at the parking lot, but he said that they're just going to haul that out using a front end loader and a dump truck. So they should get to that either this week or next week at the very latest. So we
The pool parking lot?
yes, exactly. Yep. And so with that, we've successfully made it through the leaf fall season. One thing that I talked to Walter about is he had recommended, and maybe something we could talk about and I can look into more is incorporating our street cleaning into leaf vacuuming. And because they're really sort of doing the same purpose and use a lot of the same equipment. And he felt like if we were doing it more often, we'd be getting more bang for our buck, and it would be more effective in keeping the streets cleaner all throughout the year. So just something to think about moving forward, for myself as much as you.
Was
Uh,
he- was
So
he
let's
successful?
let's
They
let him
make
do
that
his
part of the
report.
contract?
Let's let him do his report, Madam President, and then
I'll just touch on a couple of other items quickly, and then if you have specific questions, I'd be happy to answer them. One is that the MMC board will be having its annual meeting this month, and so I think at the last meeting we sort of decided that no council members were particularly interested in serving. So I'm happy to serve again as the town's representative and welcome any feedback from you all on the council or residents if there are specific needs or ways that the cable public access channel might better serve Somerset residents. I wanted to take an opportunity to thank town residents for their incredible generosity this holiday season. Number one in the various charity setups and donation bins that we set up in town. We were able to make some really nice donations to 3 different local nonprofit organizations, and so made a lot of less fortunate people, gave them something to look forward to this holiday season. And then secondarily, thank you to the residents who donated to the town holiday fund. Your generosity is year in and year out very much something that the town staff that take part in it are very grateful for. And we actually are putting together a little video in lieu of our normal holiday party. And so hopefully once we put that together, we'll make that available to everybody to celebrate a little bit. Finally, I just wanted to let you know that the special projects assistant has started in Somerset. So she's put together a work plan for the next 3 months, and we've gone over that, and that work will just start to ramp up, I think, this week and really get the ball rolling on starting to get a good document retention policy in place, clear out some of the stuff that we can, and put us on more solid footing moving forward. And then I'm sorry, one final thing before I turn it over to you all for any questions is just something that we had mentioned before, that Enrique Cabrera, who is our town foreman, has informed us that he's planning to retire at the end of this fiscal year, so at the end of June. And so I think ideally we'd like to have some overlap with whoever steps into that role. And it also gives us a good opportunity to align our personnel handbook in a more consistent way, because right now there's some inconsistencies that are sort of related to holdover policies that were made a long time ago. So Enrique's still working hard and still with us for the next 5.5 months, but at that point, maybe we, hopefully with any luck, we'll have an opportunity to do a gathering of some sort and give him a proper send off for all the hard work he's done in Somerset over the years.
Okay, Matt, thank you for that report. And in light of the time, I'll I'll get a round of questions from the council after we've gone through the agenda. Is Doug available now to give his building administrator's report?
Doug, you're here, so I will turn it over to you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good. All right. Good evening. Couple things to go over. At 4811 Cumberland, the building permit was issued on November 23rd, and work has begun on that project. At 5800 Deal, they are hopefully going to be wrapping that up soon. They've requested a final from Montgomery County, so that should be coming up hopefully this week. At 4917 Essex, their building permit was extended and that will be expired on February 2nd. They plan on being completed by that date. Last month, we issued the building permit for 4723 Fallstone, and that work has begun. And tonight, you will be reviewing the building permit extension for 5508 Uppingham. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. Council President Shaw, do you have any questions?
A couple of questions. One, so you think 5800 Deal will be done by tomorrow? It says that's their
No.
permit expires tomorrow. You're saying yes?
All the exterior work is completed. They've had a problem with the stairway, and they expect the county to deny the final because the stairway is not completed yet. They're waiting for more parts. But as far as everything else is completed, I believe everything will be completed when the county does their final, but we can't release ours until the county releases theirs. So I don't think it'll be done by tomorrow, no.
Do they need an extension of their building permit?
Well, that's up to you all, but in the past, when basically everything has been done and just waiting for a final, the town has not required that, but we can.
That's okay. I mean, if you think they're that close, I walk by there occasionally and it seemed like they were still putting cabinets in and doing a bunch of other stuff. But if you think they're just,
If I may jump in really quickly, what Doug and I had discussed was that the work that would require a Somerset permit is completed at this point. And so we would still monitor it, but essentially make them reapply if they had to do any exterior work that required a Somerset permit, but otherwise we were going to be lenient on them and not require a new permit fee for work that is not relative to Somerset.
Is that enough of an answer, Madam President?
that's just fine. Thank you. I appreciate it. The other question I have isn't exactly from this report, but how much is our dumpster permit fee?
$75.
$75, I believe.
So when I looked at your budget numbers, Matt, it looked like there was only $75 in the first 6 months of this fiscal year. And while we have Doug, I just wondered whether Doug, you knew, or maybe Matt, you know, how many of the permits we've issued since in this fiscal year had dumpsters, because we're not reflecting dumpster fees. I know, for example, 4811 Cumberland has a dumpster. I think it's 48. It's one of those Cumberland addresses. I think it's 4811 Cumberland. And a house that's not on this list, the one that's sort of in the cul-de-sac where Barbara lives, they've had a dumpster for some months. So I'm just kind of wondering what the match is between what we're taking in dumpster
Yeah,
fees
great
and
question.
the permits.
Why don't you,
I'll double check that. I'm almost 100% positive that what happened is that just got caught in the general town permit line item. And so it just needs to be allocated into the dumpster permit.
why don't you, Mr. Town Manager and Doug, why don't you get the answer and then send it to everybody as soon as possible?
Will do.
Right. Is that your last question, Madam President? Thank you. Councilmember Zoidhauser,
Yeah,
do you have any questions?
I do. I have a
Thank
question also getting back to Deal Place. I walk by there daily and I'm fairly certain that they've moved in without a certificate of occupancy. And I guess a question for our town lawyer is, if we allow that to happen, and if something goes wrong with either a neighbor or I don't know, are we at all?
That's a good question because I think they have moved in. Because I've seen them walking their dog and.
They were having dinner. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're clearly
Yeah.
living in the house. And I might
Mr.
add,
Attorney, what is the recourse?
and the railing, something that is missing, it's not the stairway, Doug, it's the railings that are missing from the balcony. So if someone were to step out on the balcony, there's no protection for them at all. So does that put us at risk at all? There are ladders around and some kid climbs up there. And I mean, I guess I'm all for being lenient, but I don't want to put the town at risk.
And also, can't we have wouldn't the county also have jurisdiction over that? So, Mr. Town Attorney, can you please answer that excellent question?
Sure. So generally speaking, the county has exclusive jurisdiction with respect to certificates of occupancy. That's not something the town of Somerset issues. We issue only a building permit, and the building permit is not conditioned upon a certificate of occupancy, obviously, because that happens later. So the town does not have any liability.
Great.
But if the town's concerned, the town could certainly contact the county.
Yeah, wouldn't you recommend that the town manager contact the inspection department? Because they, it's the holiday time. I'm sure they're understaffed. And so I would assume the council would all agree that we would want Matt to immediately contact them.
Yeah. And can you give me the address again? I'll look on the county database right now and see if the CNO has been issued.
It's 5800 Deal Place.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So again, Mr. Town Manager, if you could follow up on that and get back to the council as soon as possible, it would be appreciated. Councilor Zoidhauser, do you have any other questions?
Can I ask a
Yes,
question?
Hold on.
I
You
have
have a chance.
just one other comment that the home at 5504 Greystone is not on Doug's report, and I would like that to be added just to be sure that we're keeping an eye on that. That's a pretty substantial project.
Doug, can you answer that?
It doesn't need an answer. It just needs to be added to the report.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Is
you.
that- Is
Thank
that
you.
your last question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Peel.
Yes, I'm sorry to interrupt earlier. I just wanted to ask another question about Barbara's first point, just so I understood it, because we don't usually talk about certificates of occupancy, and sometimes we have people who have building permits, but they're living in their houses. And then sometimes they're doing a total renovation and they're not living in their houses. I guess the trigger for when you need a certificate of occupancy is when you do a rebuild. Is that right, Ron?
So Matt,
Or Doug?
Yeah.
It's not when you do
Yeah.
a renovation, right?
can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello.
do.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. I spoke to the homeowner, and they have received permission from the county to move in a couple weeks ago. My understanding of the county policy is that an occupancy permit is only required for new construction. It's not required for renovation.
Thank you.
That's interesting.
Yes, yeah, I agree.
Okay, well, thank you.
Wasn't 5,800 a tear down?
Thank you.
It was a
Well,
complete tear
I
down.
guess, Councilmember Peel, then we don't really have, if that's the case, it would calling the county Doug already talked to the county, but it is a shame. I mean, perhaps we can, based on the comments of Councilor Zoighauser and Peel, that the town manager can contact the owner and express the concerns, the safety concerns that we have. And hopefully he will address them, because I think those are legitimate concerns. And I think that it's responsible. I think it's our responsibility to inform him of our concerns. Is that acceptable to you, Councilor Peel?
I guess I just wanted to clarify, was 5800 Deal a tear down or was it a renovation?
The renovation.
Okay, thank you.
Is that because they left 2 walls up, Doug?
They
Councilor-
left most,
Yeah,
of
it
the,
was
most
basically,
of the shell was left up, yes.
yeah, but that's like a loophole. But Councilor Zoighauser, would you be comfortable with having the town inform the property owner of our concerns?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
even for his own family, my
Okay.
goodness.
I know, but I guess I think
Okay.
we should just sort of be careful here, because if they're not required to have a certificate of occupancy and they're allowed to be living in the house, I think,
Mr. Town Attorney, is there a problem for us alerting the property owner of our concerns for their health and safety?
No, there's not, Mr. Mayor, but I guess I would want to make sure that the concern is valid.
yeah.
The county apparently issued a final permit inspection, so if the
Okay, so
county
we will-
is,
Okay, I understand. So we will ask Matt to work with Doug and they'll figure out what's the best thing to do based on all this advice. Council President, Member Peel, do you have any other questions? Okay, thank you. Council Member Circo,
No further questions. Thank you.
thank you. Councilor Barr. No questions, Robin? Okay, thank you. We will now go to item 4, hearing motion to approve 3-month extension to existing building permit at 5508 Uppingham Street as requested by Megan Spilasi. Mr. Town Manager.
Yes, thank you. Let's see. So at 55, oh shoot. Sorry, bear with me one moment.
Take your
I
time.
accidentally just
Take your time.
X'd out of it. Okay. I apologize. Thank you. Thank you for your patience.
Take your time.
So the Town of Somerset permit 20-01-06C for building construction to demolish the existing and construct a new single-family home, the removal of a 13-inch holly tree and repairs to the existing curb cut and driveway was issued on January 22nd, 2020, with an expiration date of January 22nd, 2021, after a special meeting that was held on January 17th of last year. The applicant submitted, which you all received, a request for a 3-month extension. And after speaking with Doug, it is our recommendation that the extension be granted at this time.
Okay, thank you. Council President Shaw, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Councilmember Zoighauser,
No questions.
Councilor Peel,
No questions.
Councilmember Circo,
No questions.
Councilor Barr.
No questions.
Mr. Town Manager, has any resident or guest raised their hand?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Council, are you prepared to make a motion?
Move that we grant the extension or approve the extension for 3 months to the existing building permit at 5508 Uppingham Street.
Is there a second? I think I saw Zoe Kaiser first. Is there discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? So we are running a half an hour ahead. Why don't we go to the item
We do
number,
questions for the manager report?
no, because it might take too long. So let's go to the to item number 7, hearing motion to approve introduction to permitting page on town website. I believe, Council President Shaw, do you want to present this? Take your time.
So we're doing number 7,
Yeah.
the permitting page. Okay. Well, this,
Just an
we,
introduction.
so we've discussed this a couple of different times. This draft is revised. Well, Councilmember Peel did a rewrite for us, which we discussed at the work session. And I think it was generally very favorably received. There were a few suggestions, and we now have in front of us a draft that we could vote on tonight that would be on the website. And ordinarily, the council wouldn't be voting on material that goes on the website, but because this is an introduction to the building code, we are involved. I might just point out that I think there's some additional revisions that need to be made, but they're not substantive. So I can introduce this for us to vote on, but I have a number of small amendments or suggestions.
Well, it can, Mr. Town Attorney, it can be introduced with amendments, correct?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
Because this is an introduction that is based on our protocols for building code amendment, correct?
Can I ask Matt to bring it up on the
Hold
screen?
hold on.
I'm asking him to bring it up on the screen so we can look at it, Jeffrey.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Sure.
So, Mr. Town Attorney, this item is an introduction. So the issue is whether or not to introduce it and or as amended. So you're saying that, because again, this goes back to the issue we had last month, that this agenda item is the introduction. It is not to open up a freewheeling discussion of the item.
This is not a code amendment, so it can be voted on at this meeting if we can agree on the text at this meeting, is my understanding. Is that correct, Mr. Attorney?
Yes, yeah, that's right. This would not be an ordinance. It wouldn't change the code, it would just change the text on the website. So.
Right, but Madam President, I know that for so this is a resolution, right?
Actually, just text for the website,
But it's either a code amendment. So Mr.
not
Town,
code amendment.
Mr. Town Attorney, is that an introduction is either for a resolution, it's, Madam President, when we put the agenda together, this says to approve introduction. This does not say to approve the item.
Then it's written incorrectly because it was never intended to be voted on. We have been dealing with this for several different meetings, and I would like to see us
So it's your,
finalize it tonight.
okay, so it's your intention to have this item voted on.
I think, I'm sorry, I might chime in just really quickly because I might be able to clear it up. It's because the page is titled Introduction to Permitting.
It's the introduction page on the website for the permitting sections. But I understand the mayor's point.
Well, I must have misunderstood when we were putting the agenda, but that's fine. If the intent is to vote on it tonight, it can be amended, obviously, and it has been presented by the council president. So now I will take questions. Council.
Well, can I make the amendments as
Sure,
I?
yeah, why not?
Okay.
If you wish comments on it, why not?
So, starting in the permit form, neighbors is misspelled. We need whatever the link is for the PNRC. Moving to the bottom paragraph on the first page where it says see below. I think it's see above in two spots.
Could I just add, Marnie, there are two statements there, and it should be see above for both of them.
Yes, right. There are two of them. And then I think we agreed last time, based on some suggestions by the residents, rather than saying by hand, we agreed on in person.
So these are the amendments that you're going to be making.
The
when you-
document that we were presented with.
Right,
It
okay,
just
so-
needed a little cleaning up.
Okay, so what you're presenting tonight is the document with amendments that you're adding now.
Right.
Okay, good. Is that
Those
it?
those are my only ones on the first page.
Okay,
The second page, I will defer to the town staff, but in the second line, it says the town hall regular business office hours are between 9 a.m. and 5, and I thought it was 4:30. That's what the directory says. So you guys need to say which one it is.
Okay.
Which is it?
I'll change it to 4:30.
Okay. And then I think we should have a colon after summaries of town legislation, because that's the heading for all the rest of it. I don't have any other amendments to the document you gave
okay,
us.
well,
but-
it can be amended
by
later on.
others, but yes,
Yeah.
but those were sort of
Okay, thanks.
obvious.
I'm
little
sorry that I
changes.
misunderstood your intent with this item, because I'm not really, since we're so far ahead, I'm not really sure that we should be working on this item if we anticipate there are going to be public comments.
Okay.
So perhaps, what time is it? Well, why don't we go to the tree removals, because we're only 22 minutes ahead. So I'll go to item number 6. To approve town right-of-way tree removals at the following addresses as recommended by the town arborist: 4810 Essex Avenue, a pin oak; 5520 Uppingham Street, a red maple; 5706 Warwick Place, a dogwood. Dr. Feather.
Happy
You're
New
up.
Year, everybody. Happy New Year.
Same to you.
We have 3 trees. One's in front of your house, Mr. Mayor. Small dogwood that has died, and we'll replace that in the spring. 4810 Essex is a pin oak that's in decline and has decay at the base, and we've already planted a new white oak next to it, like I think 3 years ago, that's already starting to grow. That's going to replace it. And 5520 Uppingham is a red maple that the resident asked about earlier this summer, and it has a lot of hollows in it, the trunk and the main branches, and I think that needs to come out because it's a hazard. So those are the 3 I'd like approval for.
Thank you, sir. Council President Shaw, do you have any questions?
Question.
Thank you. Council Member Zoighauser.
Yeah, I have a comment because there has been so much discussion about our canopy. And I'm just wondering if the council might consider, when we're removing trees that are in the public right of way, whether at the same time we remove them, we might also note what will be replacing them, and just wrap that all into one package. Because the sense is, when I talk to people in town, is they feel many more trees are coming down than are being planted. And it would be so nice to be able to say, yes, these 3 trees are coming down and these 3 trees are going in. And in the public right of way, I think the council should have the right to do that. And I wonder if you all might consider that.
Well, why don't we ask Dr. Feather? I think that's a very good question. Is that possible?
I think that's a great idea because it kind of helps announce that early on rather than, when the planting comes up. So then and plus then there's no question, is it going to be replaced? When's the stump going to be removed? All of that. So I think that's a great idea.
So is there any chance we can slide that into, can we start with these 3, especially since one is right in front of the mayor's house?
Yeah, the mayor's going to get a dogwood,
Okay.
another dogwood. And the 5520 Uppingham is under wire. So that'll get, maybe we'll put a serviceberry there. And then the other one already has a replacement we put in 2 years ago.
Right.
Are you sure that's under wires?
Hold on. Council member Zuighauser, would you, do you feel it would be more appropriate to delay this so that there would be public input into those?
I don't think, this is something that I feel is in the council's domain. This is on the town's property. And I just think some things we should just move forward with. I think that's.
Okay, so let's let Dr. Feather make his recommendations, and then you can amend when you make the motion, you can add those in. And so why don't you make those recommendations, Dr. Feather, and so that council members can comment on it. And then I will ask at the end, Council President Shaw to re-comment. So go ahead, Dr. Feather, tell us what trees you want to replace them with.
We'll do a serviceberry at 5520 Uppingham, a dogwood at your residence on Warwick, and 4810 already has a replacement. There's a tree growing there now. We did that earlier.
Okay, thank you.
And the replacement there was a white oak. So it's a white oak that's growing there now.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Zuighauser, do you have any other questions?
No, thank you, Dr. Feather.
Sure.
Thank you. Councilmember Peel.
I do have questions. I have to admit that after all of this time of being on the council, I don't know whether a tree is a canopy tree or not, other than obvious ones like dogwoods. So when you tell me when you tell me which trees are coming out, which trees are going back in, I still don't have any information really about whether or not a canopy tree is going out or a canopy tree is coming in. So it would help me, and maybe other people don't need this help, but maybe people in the community might, if you could label them by saying, this tree, which is also a canopy tree.
I think it's a great idea.
I just don't know by the names of the trees.
Is that possible, Dr. Feather?
Sure, that's not a problem. The one
Yes.
coming out at 5520, a red maple, is a canopy tree. But as I said, it's under wires.
Okay.
So the policy is to plant shorter trees under wires. So that's why a serviceberry will only grow to about 15 or 20 feet.
Okay.
Same one with
Okay, thank
on
you.
Warwick. That's also under wires. So that would be a dogwood.
So Councilmember Zuighauser, or whoever makes the motion, should make sure they designate what it is so that it'll be in the minutes and all that. Thank you. Councilmember Peel, do you have any other
I
questions?
just mean to say that because we do provide the good information about why trees are coming down, but then if you also have this good information that you tell us in these meetings, like the fact that a tree is under wires, I think it would be great if we could include that in, what goes out to the public in our minutes, in the sense that we say, that because this tree is coming out and because of its location under wires, the tree that's going in will be a dogwood, which, won't threaten the wires. Like, it just explains it. It just doesn't make it seem
Yes.
like, oh, we're just planting dogwoods.
Well, this is all good because we have gotten numerous complaints over the years that
Yeah.
The minutes don't provide enough information like that. So
I
those
think
are both good
it would just show the thought that goes into it, and that there's a reason for your
Yeah.
recommendation. And I think
Yeah.
that would be helpful for people who don't necessarily know about trees. So
Oh, yeah,
that's
definitely.
all I have.
Did you? Okay, thank you. Councilmember Circo, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Thank you, Councilor Barr.
I mean, Barbara's suggestion is a good one. The only thing that, and this is for Talbot to remark on too, is that I don't want our vote when passing these things to tie Talbert's hands to definitely putting in a Serviceberry. Rather, we understand that is his intent to put in a Serviceberry, but if for some reason it turns out that you can't get hold of a Serviceberry and a better alternative becomes available, I don't want to see you constrained to a Serviceberry under those circumstances. That's all.
Well, perhaps the town attorney could recommend language for the motion that allows some leeway to Dr. Feather.
It could be proposed,
if
the
you could
proposed
think-
replacement.
Yeah, if you could think of the correct language so that whoever makes the motion will have that, Mr. Town Attorney. Thank you, Councilor Barr. Is that your last question?
That's the only point. Yeah.
Thank you, Council President Shaw. Thank you for your patience.
I'm good. Thank you all for the, Barbara, particularly for the suggestion.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Town Manager, has any resident or guest indicated they would like to?
Not at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Council, are you prepared to make a motion?
Sure. I move that we approve of the town right-of-way tree removals at the following addresses and with the noted proposed replacements as recommended by the town arborist. At 4810 Essex Avenue, the pin oak is coming down, and that has already been replaced by a canopy tree, a white oak. At 5520 Uppingham Street, the red maple is coming down. It is under wires, so that will be replaced by a shorter tree, and the proposed tree is a serviceberry. At 5706 Warwick Place, a dogwood is coming down, and that will be replaced by another dogwood tree. That's the proposal.
Thank you. Mr. Town Attorney, do you feel that motion meets all of the concerns that the council has?
Yes, it does, Mr. Mayor. The motion used the word the proposed serviceberry, so you could just add, or such other tree recommended by the town arborist.
So you wish for the make of the motion to add that?
I don't think it's necessary, but it may make it clearer. Mr.
Councilmember
Mayor.
Zuikhauser, do you want to add those words?
Can you please add those words to the
Okay,
motion?
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a second? I see Peel. Is there discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? Thank you very much.
So I'll start putting that information on these reports too.
Thank
Oh,
you,
good. Thank
Dr.
you,
Feather.
Dr.
We
Feather.
very appreciate it.
Great.
And we will
Happy
now
New Year.
move- Same to you. We will now move to item 7. And we will refresh my memory of where we were. So it was presented and I was about to take questions. Is that right?
Yeah.
I think so. Councilmember Zuikhauser.
Wait, I'm sorry. We're taking questions on,
So we're taking questions. To refresh everyone's memory, the council president presented the resolution
oh, sorry.
and she amended it.
Yeah,
Now is your opportunity to ask questions or make comments on the resolution as amended.
Yeah, I just have a couple of questions about the website addresses and an email address. And let me start with the email address. When someone emails, and this isn't just for this, but this is just in general, Matt, when someone emails the town at townofsomerset.com, where does that email go?
That is
You or to Linda, or where does it go?
both. So that is our main town email address, and that funnels both, if it has an automatic forwarder in it, both to me and to Linda.
Okay, so if someone wanted to reach you, what is your email address?
The manager address,
Just
manager.
manager, not
Okay,
the-
if someone wanted to reach Linda, what is her email address?
She usually is just logged on to the town at townofsomerset.com address, but she also has another one that I think is L Williams at townofsomerset.com.
Okay. I just wonder if we want to have that information. I'm not saying here, but just I myself find it very confusing. I never know who I'm emailing. And I think that you all might want to, we all might want to think about that.
Okay.
Because people need to know who's getting their email. You know, when you email the town, what exactly does that mean? And then so the mayor does not get the emails that are addressed to the town at Town of Somerset.
Correct.
But if someone wants to email the mayor, just the mayor, does the mayor's email go to you as well, Matt?
No, the mayor has his own email address.
And that's just mayor at Town of
Well-
Somerset.
Well, actually, I don't understand why.
People sometimes say to me, I'd like to email the mayor, or I'd like to email, Matt, or I just
so-
have, I'm having a
so
problem with
if it's to the-
compost.
if
I
it's
just
to
want to
the-
get in touch with Linda.
I mean,
And this is-
technically, the manager does see all the mayor's email addresses because emails, in theory, because they're forwarded to my other email. And it's so I don't know what,
Okay, so if they
I mean,
email
we can
you,
talk offline about what,
okay,
because I mean, I don't think there's a problem of people getting in touch with me, but so what exactly?
no, it was more, let's say if you don't want to bother Matt, and if you just have I don't know, your compost hasn't been picked up, something that they might want Matt to focus on, something they might want Linda to focus on, something that they may want you to focus on. I was just trying to get some
Well,
clarity.
It depends on the person, and a lot of times they email all of us, and then we have a way of figuring out. And if I don't, I don't think it's been a problem, but if you ever run into anybody that has a problem, let us know.
So in other words, the best email address, and then somebody sorts through them,
Yeah,
is Town at Town of Somerset.
everybody, just like it's similar to the whole issue of where do people get their information. Some of them they like to get it from the website. Some like to get it from Matt's communication. And everybody wants to communicate with the three of us, and they all have their own ways of doing it. So I don't think it's a problem, but if you ever run into it, that someone says it's a problem.
Okay, I just wanted some.
But basically, I mean, technically, Matt has access to all of the emails to Mayor Town of Somerset, but he wouldn't have time to read them all.
Right, exactly. Right, I'm just,
But,
right.
and then we get spam, and it's a never ending thing. So we've
Okay. And
Okay, do you have any other questions?
I do. And then I think Marnie might have addressed this, but maybe not, just to make sure I understand. And on the Montgomery County Historic Preservation Commission, so is that that's the one, the Historic Preservation Commission dash Montgomery County, is that the link?
I don't know the answer to that question.
The blue hyperlink there.
Yes, is that, if you type that in, is I just want to make sure that what we're giving people is correct. And I guess that was my question about emailing the town too. If we're trying to simplify things for people, we have to be sure we're giving them the right information. So if someone has a question about,
So in other words, I'm sorry to cut you off. I just want to make sure I'm
Yeah,
understanding your question.
yeah.
So in other words, it would be easier or more helpful to have it typed out, the actual hyperlink as the HTTP dot or
I don't know. I mean,
colon //
it's just, I'm trying to figure out what we're trying to give them at the top here. What is, maybe Franny or Robin can comment. I just want to make things easy for people.
I just clicked on that link, Franny, and it does take you to the Historic Commission site where it shows
I
their
did that too.
right site.
Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect.
But I
didn't
think your
mess
point
that.
is well taken. We should double check the links and make sure they're right.
And the same thing, Robin, then for the rain gardens and stormwater management, that
I
works with that one as well?
I'm sure it does, but
Okay,
yep, rain gardens and stormwater ponds, right there, yep.
okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank
Those are
you.
my only
Thank you,
questions.
Councilmember Peel, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions about the document itself. I was assuming that the communications committee was checking all of this stuff before it goes up on the website, but I mean, I would think any link that goes up on our website would have to be checked by somebody and not by the town council.
Well, the staff, we will make sure.
Okay, so yeah, I think those are gonna be fine, but I think just as a matter of how it looks, like you don't want to have a whole bunch of letters strung out. You want to just have the name of the place that you're linking to, and then the blue text and the underline is the hyperlink, and that will take you there.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Councilmember Circo,
No questions?
thank you. Councilmember Barr,
No further questions.
thank you. Mr. Town Manager, are there any comments or questions from our residents or guests?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Council, are you prepared to make a motion?
I move that we accept the amended language for the introduction to the permitting page on the town website.
Thank you. Is there a second? I saw Zughauser first. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Thank you very much for all the work everybody did on this. The next item is a motion to instruct the town manager to develop a request for proposals to redesign and update the Town of Somerset website. Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So you have most of the information in front of you, and I think most of you are already pretty familiar with this. The Communications Committee, after looking at, in particular, a presentation from MML, has shifted its focus in communicating with residents to the town website. And so it's something that we had initially included in our budget this past year. And I have received a couple of bids to give us an idea of what the price range would be. But after a few meetings and talking it through, that the Communications Committee is asking the council to direct me to put together a formal request for proposals and consider once we get them, consider bids for a town website redesign and renovation.
And let me add that the reason why this item is on the agenda is I thought it was a good idea because we don't have a formal procurement policy. We have limited staff, and this is not the update and redesign of the website is not in this year's budget. So I thought it best to have the council's approval before Matt's time was spent on this. Council President Shaw, do you have any questions?
I'm enthusiastically in favor.
Thank you. Council Member Zoidhauser.
I agree.
You didn't. You had
No questions. I'm a fan.
Council Member Peel.
I guess I just want to understand what we're doing tonight. Tonight, we're just authorizing Matt to get an RFP, right? We're not voting on spending any money. So it seems like it doesn't matter if we have the money in this year's budget. And at least it would give us information for next year's budget to get get some proposals in.
I think Council President Shaw wants to answer that.
Well, we identified some money that was unanticipated as additional money from last year's budget that would fund this.
Well, don't we have to wait and see how much it's going to cost first?
Well, Matt had a couple of, I
But
think,
the point is that I felt it important for the council to approve Matt spending time on something that it's not in our budget.
Okay, I don't have any other
Unusual.
questions.
And it's also, yeah, thank you. Council Member Circo.
No, nothing further. Thank you.
Council Member Barr.
Yeah, I very much enthusiastically support this. A functioning website is essential. Our current website is not functioning well.
Okay, thank you. Council, are you prepared to make a motion?
Yep.
Go for it, Councilmember Barr.
Okay, I move that we authorize our town manager to develop an RFP and release it for proposals to redesign and develop our town website.
Thank you. Is there a second? I see Zoidhauser. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Thank you. The next item is the reintroduction of Resolution 1120, an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances to prohibit the use of gas-powered blowers on or after January 1st, 2022. I believe this is Council Member Circo.
Well, I just wanted to continue to move this along. It's a topic of personal interest to me. But I think that the main thing here is to set us up for further discussion so that we can have informed deliberations and come to our vote. We have a public hearing scheduled next Monday. And then we should be voting as a council next month at the February meeting.
Okay, thank you. Council President Shaw, do you have any questions? Council Member Zoidhauser.
No questions, thank you.
Councilmember Peel.
I don't have any questions tonight.
Councilmember Barr.
No questions.
Councilmember Circo, would you like to make the motion?
Sorry, but I introduced it last month. What is the motion here?
It's just to reintroduce it because remember there's the, why don't we have the town attorney refresh everyone's memory?
I thought it's within
Why?
60 days. And the
Let's have the town attorney
okay.
refresh our memory as to why this needs to be done.
Well, under the town charter, after introduction, an ordinance needs to be adopted at a meeting that's at least 6 days and no more than 60 days later.
Right, and I introduced it on December 7th. And we're meeting, the next town council meeting is on February 1st, which is within that 60-day window.
Yeah, I'm not sure why this is on the agenda for
Council-
reintroduction.
No, what?
I guess that provides extra cushion if we, but if we need to reintroduce it, I'll reintroduce it next month meeting.
Well,
Hmm.
Council Representative Shaw, why did we put this on the agenda?
For another discussion, that's why it's just a further discussion. Because at the last meeting, isn't it correct that the council indicated they want to have more discussion before the ordinance was introduced
Did the
formally?
council vote to introduce it last month?
Yes, we did.
So, okay, well, there's no reason not to reintroduce it.
Okay.
You guys give a cushion. So since we've come
So-
this far, would you like to make the motion?
Thank you all. So I move that I would move that we reintroduce the proposed gas power leaf blower ban recommended by the town's Environment Committee.
Thank you. Is there a second? I see Peel. Is there discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? And I would like to remind everyone that as has been decided by the council president and myself, there will be a public hearing on this after there's going to be a work session on, what's the date?
The 17th. The hearing is before the work session.
Yeah, the
hearing is
hearing is on
Monday,
Monday, the 18th. No, what day is it?
11th, a week from tonight.
Yeah, Monday, the 11th, and then the work session is on Thursday, January 14th. Thank you. And our last item is a continuation of the manager's report. Council President Shaw, were all your questions answered?
We're still on the administrative matters, right? I had one more question on that. Matt had referred earlier to testing in the audit report, I guess, testing the roads for our budget planning for next year. And I'm wondering when we're going to get started and how we're going to do that. If you could kind of refresh my mind about how we're tackling that.
Okay, I believe what we had landed on was to have a firm come in and do, not entirely sure what the engineering specificities are of it, but basically do a sampling of the asphalt, which I think better informs where and what parts of the road are most in need if we took it chunk by chunk as opposed to doing it all at once.
I presume we will give them a record of the roads we've done and the curbs and gutters we've done so that they won't be focused on those roads, but other ones.
Exactly.
Because we're going to need that information sort of by March in order to put it into the capital budget
Okay, yeah,
as
good
part of the
point.
budget planning. And so, I mean, tempus fugit is kind of, it's already January.
Before, is that your last question, Madam President?
Yes, that's my last question.
Because, Mr. Town Manager, wasn't your report your administrative and financial report earlier?
No, we never did the financial report.
I didn't really get to financials.
Well, why don't you do that so we can
Okay.
lump it all together, lump all the questions together?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Just briefly, as I alluded to with the budget committee meeting being, with the budget committee meetings, quarterly meetings being postponed, our, I'm sorry. Sorry, my computer's kind of going crazy here. Okay. Let's try this again.
Do you want me to sing while you're?
If you'd like, that sounds lovely.
Maybe Franny should sing.
Okay. I'm sorry about this. For
your
some
time.
reason, this link is no longer working
I
for me.
I can raise questions if you want.
That's fine. Yeah. If you just want to go to questions, I can. for some
Yes, okay,
But
go
look-
ahead, Council President Shaw.
So there were not too much on the revenue side because it's really too early in the year, but I'm a little concerned that we're not getting billed by some of our consultants. For example, our arborist, we're 6 months through the fiscal year and we don't have a bill from our arborist. We're 6 months through the fiscal year and our code enforcement officer has spent 11% of what we've allocated for him.
his actually is up to date with various issues related to COVID and things of that nature. I think we're just very much under budget on that. But yes, I know that
Not
this
very
is,
present in our community.
yeah. I know with Tolbert, I think that's been an issue in the past. So I'll have to have a conversation with him and try to nip that in the bud so that we get up to date on that.
Yeah, I think that's important. I mean, I can understand people running a month or two behind, but 6 months.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, well, we'll work on that and let's talk about that at our managers meeting too, Madam President. Did you have any other questions?
Well, there's some areas that we seem to be close to having spent 100%, although they're not like huge budget items. And I just was curious, and I'm still curious about why our workers' comp is so high relative to what we budgeted. And
I've had some trouble getting in touch with the Montgomery County people. I've unfortunately when I call the number, it just leaves a voicemail that says they're not in the office. So I might have to go up the ladder or something because I'm going back through my emails and
Yeah, I would go through.
I literally sent 5 over the course of the month of December and then 3 going back to July since then. So
Call council member.
I don't know why. For some reason, our workers' comp has gone up very substantially what's strange is that it went up from about 6,000 to 8,000 last year, and then this year it went from 8,000 all the way up to 12,000. And I'm not getting a good I'm not getting any response as to why that's happening, despite the fact that their email says, "Let me know if you have any questions about it."
because workers' comp is supposed to be based somewhat on your record, your workplace record.
Yeah, we do get lumped in with a couple of different municipalities for that. But we're on the small end of that cohort. So I wouldn't imagine that our share doubles.
Those are just a few of the questions I had. So
Okay,
I
good.
don't want to monopolize any more time.
Thank you, council member Zoe Gasser.
Yeah, my only question is in sort of another nitpicky one is the postage for the journal. Does that get paid out in full at the end of the year or something, or how does that work? Because it says it's zeroed out.
Good question. Let me get back to you on that one. I think probably what happened is that it got lumped into, off the top of my head, I believe there's another item in the budget there that is also related to the journal. So I'm thinking that it probably just got lumped in there and hasn't been properly meted out.
And then the other one is just a comment that I was happy to see that for line item 61208, the police salaries that were actually about halfway through the budget. So you're actually having a lot of success in getting the officers to come into town, which is terrific. Thank you for that.
Yeah, officers Alcott and Chung in particular are pretty consistently putting in hours in the office. And we had our inaugural meeting of the Public Safety Committee as well. So we have some ideas about perhaps recruiting some more and getting some more hours so we can continue to inch closer to our total budgeted allocation.
Perfect, great. Okay, that's it for me. Thank you.
Councilor Peel, do you have any questions?
I do. I have a little bit of a list, but Matt, if you don't want to answer them tonight, that's fine. I just wanted to sort of raise them.
And
Sure.
I actually, can I, one other, I'm sorry that I forgot because I didn't,
Go ahead.
the administrative report. It seems that I thought we were supposed to be getting a report from the election committee. And now that it's,
It hasn't met.
Yeah.
You're going to be meeting this month, I think.
yeah, because I feel like the election's going to be upon us in no time at all. And it would be good. I know there was a lot of confusion at our last election because it was contested.
I'm sure they're going to meet this month. You remember we're having a leadership change, and so,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah. Remember I told you that Phyllis is becoming chair of the welcoming committee,
And
so
some-
it'll happen. Stuff was slow around the holidays to get in touch with people,
Okay.
for them to get back to me.
Okay, but Matt, if you could add that back on your report so that it doesn't go by the wayside, it used to appear on there.
And
Okay.
we'll have it in our, we'll have a discussion about it at our managers meeting next week too.
Okay, perfect. Thank
Sorry,
you. so much.
Council,
Thanks,
thank you.
Franny.
I'm sorry, Councilmember Peel, go ahead.
That's okay, no problem at all. I'll just read off my list. They're not really in order of importance, just wanted to raise them. You did talk a little bit about the street work, and I just wanted to note that since MCPS continues to be online, if we have any repairs that are minor that we might want to do to Deal Place or to Warwick, this would be an excellent time to do them. I think chances are the kids won't be coming back for a while, and it'd be sort of too bad to miss this opportunity to make whatever repairs we could without it causing a big disruption to the school buses. And that would go too for any sidewalks coming from the apartment buildings. And then along that line, I wanted to mention the bridge, Matt, and ask if you could ask one of the guys to take a look at it the next time we have an ice event. Because I did walk over it recently and I thought the repair, it looks like a good one, but I just wanted to know what it looks like when it's actually, building up ice, and to have somebody take a look at it and make sure it's working. And then I wanted to follow up on the Little Free Library and ask you whether you were able to sort of work out a license agreement with the idea people behind that. I saw that it had been put up with their books inside it, and I just wanted to make sure we had sort of started the clock on the license term.
I'll answer that, which is we're going to be having a opening ceremony sometime this month.
Okay, great. And then I wanted to mention that you may have seen that the tennis committee chair has sent out a notice saying that people can renew their tennis licenses online. And this is the first time, I think, that we won't be issuing tennis cards to people. So I just wondered if you could give us feedback about how that goes, so that I'm hoping that that'll be a permanent solution, that we just shift to everything being online to take the burden off of the staff. But if you could just keep an eye on how that goes and let us know.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to ask you about whether you sent out the letter to regarding the Little Falls Parkway closure that we had talked about doing.
Yeah, I think let him answer that. I think it's yes, right?
That letter went out
Yeah.
on Little Falls Parkway.
I had not been involved in that.
Oh, okay, we'll check. We'll
Okay.
get back. We'll get
I
back.
would just ask if you could, once it gets sent out, to have a copy of it sent to Matt and to.
Oh,
me.
I'm sorry, Franny. I'm spacing out.
Okay.
I'm going back through emails now. Yes, I did. I put that on letterhead and sent it out. I'm sorry.
Okay, great. Thank
But
you.
but also, Councilor Peel, I'm still trying to work with them.
Good. And then I guess I wanted to just sort of point out that we're coming up on a year since the renovation ended. And I just wondered, I mean, the rest of us haven't really been able to be in the town hall the way you have. And I just wondered if you and Linda and Jeffrey could, like tell us
Okay,
how
I'll
it's
answer
going.
that. I'll answer that. It's on our list and I've discussed it with Councilman. I think Linda has talked with Councilman Zerghazer. We're planning to do some kind of virtual tour
Excellent.
and we're in the process. We've acquired a number of Lila Snows.
Oh, nice.
We'll be including, we've also acquired her portrait.
Oh, wow.
And so hopefully sometime this month, we will, we have a director for this, Linda Williams.
Right.
We have a young person on the staff who is good at technology. But
Well, that
that's
would be good. The only other thing I wanted to ask, Matt, if you, I think you probably saw that the mayor of DC asked people not to go downtown this week. And I just wondered if you would consider sending, basically sort of cut and pasting her message and sending it out to our community in case people are not,
we can do that.
following the DC mayor, but I think that would be
We can
important.
definitely do that.
Sure. Yep.
Is
That's all.
that it? Okay,
Yep.
thank you. Council Member Circo.
Nothing further. Great
Thank
discussion.
you.
Thank you.
And last but not least, Councilmember Barr.
No questions, and I'm happy to be the least on this occasion.
Okay, well, you're not the least. But anyway, all right, everyone, thank you. We will see you. We will be
Next
Zooming
Monday.
you next.
Marnie.
Yes. So may I also just mention the work session we've talked about, it's the 14th, I believe, from 5 to 7. And the things we're going to be working on, although it could change a little bit. We started on a realtor letter and Matt was going to get sort of itemized for us some of the things that Phyllis had said about that. Ron has drafted a resolution policy we can look at. I think we should look at the personnel manual and figure out how we're going to move ahead with revising it prior to hiring someone to fill Enrique's position. If we need to talk about the gas-powered leaf blower legislation, we should do that. And another possibility is the Thrive Montgomery and the Jawando meeting and amendment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the preview and thank you, everyone. Happy New Year again. And
Matt has-
One quick reminder, just because I know everybody has expressed interest in it previously, that I believe the Stormwater Management Study Committee is meeting next Tuesday.
Get a
So-
schedule so that we can get them on our calendars.
Yes, I just got an email from Ellen today, so I will confirm that with you all and make sure that I send.
How
out a
does
cal-
that work though? Are we all allowed to join the meeting but just not talk or what?
What I've been doing, I think Ron's suggestion, and Ron, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, was to announce every meeting as a joint council and committee meeting. What I've done previously is to explain that a quorum of the council may be present at the meeting.
Okay. And do you have links to the previous meetings somewhere, or if I needed them, I guess I could just ask you?
Uh,
Or does Ellen have those?
yes.
You taped the last one, but not the first one, right?
I think I taped the last one. I didn't tape the first one, so I made sure that the default setting is to tape them from now on. I did get minutes from Ellen today though as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, everybody. See you next week.
Bye.
Happy New Year.